Yes.
My name is Charlie, and this is Charlie, and today we're going to be reacting to the Booker Prize shortlist. For the last 2 months, Charlie and I have been squirreling ourselves away and reading this long list. There have been some hits, there have been a lot of misses for me, but we thought that before we start, what we'd like to talk about before we watch this video is what's going to absolutely boil our piss if it gets through into the shortlist.
For me, if it gets through or doesn't get through, because there's 2 elements to that, actually.
Okay, what will really annoy you if it isn't on the shortlist?
Maps, obviously. Maps is my number one, my number one that will make me pissed if it's not on there. Obviously, there's another one, but I'll let you say that.
For me, that's the 7 Moons of Maali Almeida. Yeah. If that's not there, I would be quite irked. Any of the other ones I've liked, I'm fine. If they don't make it, I can accept it. I'll keep it as a personal favourite. I'm okay over here. But if those 2 don't make it, I don't.
If Maps and Moons don't make it, I am literally gonna. I don't know. I was gonna say be violently sick on camera, but no, I won't do that. That wouldn't be attractive. Glory. Yes, the trees. 2. We've got 2. Yes, Treacle Walker. Yes, 7 Moons.
Keegan.
Oh, small things like these. I know that I'm happy for that.
I don't mind. It's fine.
Strout.
Oh, William! Oh my God, Charlie! That's our Charlie science this, isn't it? Apart from maps. Not maps. No, apart from small things. That's 5 out of on our Charlie science list. We did 5 out. I think that's on our Charlie science. Our Charlie science was more accurate than everything else. We'll talk about this in a bit.
Yeah, our Charlie science had 5 out of 6.
Oh my God, Charlie! This is a proven fact.
A few moments later.
Oh my God, Charlie! Oh my God!
I know.
How shocked are we?
I think that. Well, I think we've got to mention it. Charlie science prevailed again.
It's mad. It's so crazy.
We guessed. Well, we didn't. It wasn't guessing.
No, it wasn't guessing. This is not guessing.
I will tell everybody. Through the method of Charlie and I ranked each of the books in the long list, giving the book we like the most 13 points and the book we like the least 1 point. And each of us did that for the long list. And then we added those numbers together and we managed to predict 5 out of the 6 books that have made it onto the shortlist.
Mad.
And we did this with the Women's Prize for Fiction as well.
We did it 5 out of 6 as well.
Made it onto the shortlist. And the only reason we got 1 wrong was because we vehemently despised
that's true.
book that made it through. This time around, for the Booker shortlist, I think that out of the 6 books that have made it to the shortlist, we would be, well, personally, I wouldn't mind seeing any of them win.
No, I was saying, well, obviously I haven't finished Glory, so I can't say that completely, but yeah.
But yeah, shall we give some thoughts on the books?
Yeah, go through it. Go for it, Charlie.
So, we have Glory by NoViolet Bulawayo, which I read, and I have said when discussing this book that it wasn't until I got about 150 pages into the book and a certain character arrived that I ended up rushing through this book in the want to finish it. And I was very pleased to see it here because for a while there, it did end up in my number 1 spot of this when we were ranking them.
Yeah, for me, obviously, I'm only still a little way in, and I'm so excited that I actually got one that's on the shortlist to read and discover like all the things that you love about it. So at the moment it's a little bit slow going for me, but I'm gonna go with it.
I wonder whether it was something that the author did intentionally though with that book, and it's something we'll have to discuss when we have both read it.
Yeah.
But I whether it has such a noisy, chaotic beginning
Yeah.
to give more sense of the world before we focus in on one character.
And like zoos are noisy places, aren't they? Like I think places with animals are like noisy worlds, aren't they? So that is like like that chaos kind of obviously. No, I can see what you're saying.
So, and with you saying that, it's actually it begins to make more sense to me as well. I was thrilled to see Glory on there. I have to say that.
I'm not surprised it's on there. That is one that we put on our like predictions anyway. So like that is not. It's not a surprise it's on there. It's like clearly she's a talented writer. I trust what your judgment says anyway about in terms of her previous work. And yeah, it's clearly this is her time. So
I think that also in terms of when we were looking at books that were trying something different throughout all the long list, this one, while sometimes it doesn't it might hit those marks a bit better than others. But it's strange now just thinking about the shortlist as a whole, because I would say 4 out of the 6 books are doing something a bit weird and different and mystical. But I don't want to overplay the mystical in the trees by Percival Everett.
we gulped this down, didn't we? Like,
well, for me, I read it in about 4 hours, and you were about the same. We were both
maybe a little bit longer. I'm a little bit of a slower reader.
The entire process. It's I say, and Kieran said it in his video, that the mystical aspect of this book and the zombies get over-egged too much and talked about, because this is very much more a thriller and very much more a murder mystery with very political elements, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. It was that was in my top 3, I think, of the whole list. So yeah, I'm so happy that Trees is on this list. I'm so pleased for it.
If we look at all 6 of the books that have been chosen, there's, well, maybe it's just because of the way we're doing things, there's a lot of discussion points.
Yeah.
With the Trees, whilst it is, to me, a very straightforward thriller, there is this aspect where it also has a lot to discuss due to the mention of Emmett Till and the lynching going on.
I was going to say about race, yeah.
It is doing something a tad different when it does come to being a thriller.
And having the 2 black police officers as well, and they're so strong in that book. Like it's such a fantastic. Like I think it's fantastic book. I think this is probably out of the whole list, apart from Small Things Like These. So the Trees and Small Things Like These I think have got universal appeal to me. Actually, no, I don't think William has, but no. So the Trees and Small Things Like These, I think I would recommend to pretty much anybody. I think and most people would like and love and get something out of those books and really enjoy them.
The next book on the shortlist is Treacle Walker by Alan Garner. And so naturally I was thrilled by the fact that this was on there. I have maintained, and I will continue to maintain, that people need to not look at this book so seriously. It is an adventure story. That's what it is as its core. It is nostalgic, it's adventurous, it is fun. Yes, it discusses quantum physics at times. Yes, it uses words that might be a bit dialectical. I can't say that word, but I think that's part of the charm of the book. I think that similar to what you were saying about the Trees, this isn't necessarily as accessible to everybody, and I don't think that it'd be like an entryway into the Booker long list / shortlist for anybody. I think that it's perhaps for a reader who doesn't mind suspending their disbelief a lot.
Yeah.
It's for a reader that very much likes language maybe over plot sometimes.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
As an audiobook, when I listened to this, it was this very incredible experience for me, because I just found it so homely and so reminiscent of stories from the era in which it's set and the way in which they were told.
I really enjoyed it. I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really fun. I couldn't see this being on the shortlist. It has surprised me, but I can see why it's on there because of like all the elements that you're saying about. And actually, I might give it a reread. It's very, very short, so I think it might be worth a reread for me. But yeah.
But you see, all I was going to say was that when it comes to a shortlist for me, and when it comes to a book, when it comes to this, I think that it's got to be books that you would reread and you'd want to revisit.
Yeah, definitely, I would agree with that.
Every single book that's on the shortlist here is one that I would revisit, including small things like these. I think by Claire Keegan, I think that you would be best to talk about here.
I just loved Small Things Like These. Small Things Like These is a very quiet book. I think it's, again, one that probably lots of people overlooked. I think it packs so much into those small pages, and for me, I just adored it. I just loved it so much. Like, straight away I was captivated by it, and I thought it was very, very cleverly done. And I just think, yeah, I'm so happy that it's on the shortlist. Like, I really, with all my heart, wanted this on the shortlist. I know I didn't not rave about it, because I did rave about it, but I didn't like.
You did. I know that when we were talking about this and you were talking about your rankings,
Yeah,
you said that you chose with your heart when it came to your rankings, and this one had your heart.
Yeah, massively. That's 100% it. Yeah, and I think that's why. Like, I think this is with our Charlie Science thing. It's obviously clearly worked so well because both of us chose. I think both of us kind of ranked like that similar. Like, I think, did you rank kind of with your heart as well, or I can't remember what you said about that, but yeah, I definitely did.
Originally I wasn't doing.
Yeah.
And it was only when you said about how you were ranking with your heart that I was like, oh no, it's more about how I feel personally about books. And when I said about rereading before, while I don't particularly think that Small Things Like These was the greatest book, liked it, I still saw it like this Christmas special, and I was still planning on listening to it again when we got
saying that,
because I do think that it would work well to be something to listen to in winter. I'm glad that short books are on the shortlist as well, because I think that sometimes when it comes to a short book, a lot of people look at it and think that you aren't going to be able to pack a lot in there. But I'm someone who very much appreciates brevity and appreciates seeing a story where you are able to contain a lot in such a small number of pages. And I like that Treacle Walker, Small Things Like These, and O. William, which are relatively short, have made it to the shortlist.
I think it's brilliant. Yeah, so good. I still can't believe it. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I can't believe it either, but I think that we were both, when it came to the Charlie Science shortlist, we had wanted maps of our spectacular bodies to be on.
I'm gutted. But do you want to talk about O. William first, or?
Well, we talk about this after, but I think we did both expect this to be on there.
But we'll talk. Yeah.
The next book on the shortlist is The Seven Moons of Maali Almeida by Shehan Karunatilaka, and this was in my number one spot when we last did our rankings.
Me too.
It's going to be interesting if we did a shortlist ranking now to see what we would predict to be the winner, because I've read of them. You've got one to go.
Yeah.
So for me, this one did everything that I like to see in fiction, which it had humour. I remember that's going to be the image about this book that sticks in my mind, is you sending me the picture from the first or second page of this book, and then something that you got in touch with me to discuss later on, and the humour that is in a book that is really suffused with death, because we are a character in the afterlife. And I know that I mentioned about being reminded of Beetlejuice, and that's still the case. It's still surrounding the bureaucracy of death, but the author still manages to explore the life of the character and explore the life of a very flawed human being, and doesn't do it with sentimentality, but still manages to make you feel something for the characters and the world in which they inhabit.
It's just like, again, it's very masterfully done. I think this is a very masterfully written book, and it is my favourite out of the shortlist for sure. I haven't obviously finished Glory, and maybe that will overtake it. I can't see it overtaking it based upon the fact that from the very first page, like you said, I loved this book, and I just think it does so much within its pages. It talks about some of the Sri Lankan history to do with the tigers, like we mentioned, and some of the the main character, it was a war photographer, would we say?
Yeah, a war photographer.
Yeah,
That is.
and he witnesses all these horrible things, but he's keeping himself a distance and you're sort of he's narrating all those moments, and and also it's the cleverness about that being that you are then witnessing what it's very, very, it's just so clever, and I just loved it so much. I just think it's brilliant, and it was so funny. So, yeah.
I know it has everything going for it. This book does.
I love it. I just love it.
Brilliant characters and just a great story.
I really want to win. Actually,
I think this will probably be. I think this is in my number one spot still. So, I'd quite like to see this win, but as I say, I would be happy for any one of these 6 to win.
Yeah. Well, obviously, once I've read Glory, I'll see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, once you've read Glory, which leaves us with William.
It's a bit pushed out there. You might need to push it or just put an image. I can't see it.
Okay, we'll just leave. William's a bit too bright for this video, so we're going to put a picture somewhere. But I was thrilled that this was on the long list. I was shocked, and I am incredibly pleased that it's made it to the shortlist. Strout is a writer I only discovered about 2 years ago, and this is another book where I think it being on the shortlist proves how deceptive a writer Elizabeth Strout is. There is always so much going on beneath the surface. There's so much to read between the lines, and I think that that's why Elizabeth Strout's books bear rereading, because there is always so much more. At first, you can read them and think they're going to be quaint and twee and cozy, and you don't recognize all of the barbs that are there. And so I was particularly happy that it made it to the shortlist.
I definitely, I'm so excited to read all her books and read particularly, like I said, I'm going to try and go back and reread this series, reread Lucy Barton, and reread. My sister got me the short story collection.
Anything is possible.
Yeah, anything is possible, and I'm going to reread O. William again, even though I've not long read it, but I think I'll get the benefit of doing it in that order. But yeah, I loved O. William when I read it. So, and I
think that as well, I didn't expect Strout to be on here, and I just think I underestimated some writers when it came to them being on the long list. I never expected to be as defensive as I am about Treacle Walker, but for whatever reason, I find myself kind of thrusting that book towards people more than I do any other. As much as I say that I'd like the Seven Moons to win, there's still some part of me that feels kind of like the guardian of Treacle Walker that I need to.
Honestly, I would be happy if that won for you. Like obviously, me personally, I think it would be small things like the currently.
Yeah.
We'll do a whole other video for that. I think this is going to be a whole.
We will be discussing our predictions further when we've had time to mull over.
Yeah, because at the moment we're just like shocked.
Well,
Charlie Science is like.
That's the thing. I think that, as you've said before, because we are two very different readers, when we do the Charlie Science, it works because we have these different opinions that just
a general collection of readers would get, because obviously those judges are obviously not like, they're people too, so there's obviously a wider collection within those judges, so and varying opinions, I'm guessing, as well. And so yeah, it's obviously maybe there's something about that.
I think
oh no, I'm so happy, Charlie. I'm so happy. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic shortlist. I'm so shocked by it. I'm gutted about maps. We might as well talk about maps then. I'm so gutted. Maps will probably be one of my favorite books of the year, maybe even my favorite book of the year. I finished it was it yesterday? Yesterday I finished it.
Yes, it was yesterday, because then I said how I was reading it as well.
Yeah. So yesterday I finished it, and it broke me apart. But it's such a beautiful book, and it's one I highly recommend to lots of people. But I know this one, it might not be for everyone because of the subject matter, but yeah, I loved it. I loved it so much.
A rather good book, but hopefully there will be other awards coming to Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies. I'm currently reading it. I don't think I'm as enthusiastic about the book as you are, but I can see why it made it to the long list. and I'm halfway through. I read 200 pages today. I think that says a lot about it anyway. I am also still planning on reading Trust, even though it's washed out over here. I'm still going to read it. It didn't make it to the shortlist, but I'll give it a go.
It doesn't.
I can't deny.
You finished it after Sappho. You did, didn't you? I remember you.
I finished after Sappho, yes.
Yeah.
And I went through a multitude of thoughts whilst reading that book, which went from, oh, this is ingenious, to, oh, this is boring, to, oh, I can see what she's doing now, to, oh, this is boring again. It was like
exactly how I felt.
If you want to read a book that is doing something similar, but is better, read Square Haunting by Francesca Wade.
You've recommended this one to me before, I think.
I have recommended this one before. I recommend this book to everybody. It was first recommended by Sarah over at Hardcover Hearts. And this is the first time that I've read non-fiction and it's felt like fiction. It's been so propulsive, it's moved so fluidly, and that is something that After Sappho didn't have. And this is non-fiction. That's supposedly speculative non-fiction, and yet still manages to be as dry as an academic textbook.
Now you've read After Sappho, would you have put it on our predictions?
No.
Yeah.
Now that I finished it, having read a lot more than I had at the time,
yeah,
After Sappho would be very far down the list.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it?
But I think that our Charlie science was still correct in what it predicted.
It was correct because it didn't get on. Yeah.
So.
Oh no, I'm so happy, Charlie. Thank you so much for. I always love our Charlie chats. We always have the most fun.
So those are hopefully our reactions to the Booker Prize 2022 shortlist. I think that the thrill might keep me going throughout autumn until the winner is announced on the 17th of October or the 16th. It's a date.
We're going to have to do a winners video then, aren't we? I haven't even thought of that. That's quite far ahead.
We thought about that 2 minutes ago, Charlie.
What did I?
We did when we said that we were going to read it after we were going.
Yeah, the winners video, but I mean like a live reaction winners video.
Oh my goodness. I hadn't thought about that.
There will be, Charlie.
I know, but the thing is, we're going to be thrilled by it whichever way it goes.
I think we will be. I won't be pissed. None of those books I hate. Even Glory, what I've read so far, I don't hate.
I could get pissed.
Oh, yeah, we could both get pissed.
Just get a bottle of whiskey out and neck it before we start the video.
Mine's Bailey's. Charlie.
The first drunk reaction video we've ever done.
You drink whiskey, Charlie?
No.
No, neither do I. I don't like whiskey.
No.
I don't like whiskey. What's your drink of choice?
Bitter.
Bitter.
What did you think? What did you think it was going to be? You know me as a human being. It was definitely going to be bitter. I'm northern and I'm angry.
Okay.
So anyway, after going off on various tangents.
Well, yeah, but you're going to cut all that out. So it's fine.
Maybe. We do hope that you have enjoyed this video. How do you feel about the shortlist? Were you unhappy to see certain books included, or were you unhappy to see favourites eliminated? Do let us know down in the comments. We hope that you have enjoyed this video. Do you have anything to say, Charlie?
Just that I'm going to go and cry into a pillow a bit later about maps being off the list. But that's the only one I'm like super gutted for.
Okay, well, Charlie.
For the 5, I'm gutted for maps.
While Charlie goes and cries into a pillow, we'll all enjoy a nice cup of tea. And until next time, that is all.